Hello, I'm Ken Jabert with the Orange County Library System here at the Hiawassee Branch on February the 4th, 2014, capturing memories from our community. Please tell me your name and where you're from.
My name is Kathy Beyers. I was born on Orange Avenue down at ORMC, and I grew up in Winter Garden.
In Winter Garden. So you're an original Central Florida resident.
Yes, as is my father, who was born and raised in Leesburg.
Wow, that's very rare to hear. Most of the folks you meet around here have come from somewhere else. So to have somebody be right from the area is pretty amazing. So tell me your earliest memory of Orlando or Winter Garden.
I remember walking, holding my mom's hand and walking downtown Winter Garden to go to see movies at the old theater, which closed, I believe, in 1963 or 64, and now has been reopened as the Garden Theater. But I remember when it was a real theater. I remember when trains ran through the middle of downtown.
This would be downtown Winter Garden.
Winter Garden.
The old movie theater.
In Winter Garden.
Was a movie theater, but now it's a playhouse, correct?
Right. And I remember walking up to the elementary school because we lived on Main Street, North Main Street, and the old elementary school was farther south, so we would have to walk up Main Street through town to get to the old elementary school. I remember having to wait for the trains to go by, and the conductors and the person at the end on the caboose would be waving to all the kids and all that kind of stuff.
And I think that old train station is now a museum, right?
It is.
A railroad museum.
Mm-hmm. And they've actually pulled up all the train tracks and made it the bike trail, which is part of the Trails to Rails or Rails to Trails project.
And what did you like the most about growing up in Winter Garden or Florida?
The freedom. I mean, we still had a lot of orange groves back in the 60s, and if we were walking somewhere to a friend's house or going uptown to, just get a Coke or something, you could walk through an orange grove and pick an orange, and nobody was going to jump out and throw you in jail or fine you $500. And we get on our bikes and we go down to the lake and go to the public swimming pool down there in Winter Garden, and it was 50 cents I think to get in for the whole afternoon. And the kids just kind of went around in little groups together, and you play at other people's house, and when it got dark, you knew it was time to come home. But there wasn't any cell phones, there wasn't any parents who were upset because they couldn't see you, and there weren't really that many threats in a town like Winter Garden. I remember the Edgewater Hotel was still a hotel, and they used to have old men sitting in some rocking chairs near the entrance. And it looked old and scary then, so I never really talked to him or anything like that. But I remember when it was still a functioning hotel.
And where did you go to high school?
West Orange High School. I was the very first class that went all the way through. The school was not built when it opened in '76, so we started our sophomore year at Lakeview, and then we moved over after the first of the year when the actual new high school was built, which now has been torn down because now there's a newer high school. And I remember back then at the time, because Ocoee and the Lakeview Red Devils and the Ocoee Cardinals were at each other's throats, and they were like our big opponents and all that kind of stuff. And there was a lot of concern about whether the two neighboring school kids would get along. So I think they actually that first week there might have been extra security and police to kind of see if there was going to be any difficulties. But we knew the Ocoee kids, but it was just like, you're a Cardinal, you're a Red Devil. But yeah, they combined the two. We got to vote on the high school colors. They did a school vote on picking the colors.
And what year did you graduate from high school?
1978.
What was your first job?
My first job was actually teaching guitar lessons at it was the old post office. There's like a little recreation hall, and that's where we kind of rented out the room because my mother, for some reason, thought I could teach guitar lessons, which I never felt I could. But I taught guitar lessons for a couple of summers in Winter Garden. And then my first job was with a work-study permit, marching at Disney in the American Parade show, for the bicentennial. But I was only 15, so I had to get a work permit. And we would meet at Lakeview, and they would bus us out every day. And we were a small high school, so we didn't do when there was a big day. We did the afternoon, parades and stuff like that. And they had all the area kids participate in that. and you had to be a certain height and you had to be a certain age by the time it kicked off. And none of my friends could do it because their birthdays were all later in the summer. So I was the only one that turned 15 in time, and got on with that, and could have done it the next summer, but I got a job at the Winter Garden Library the next summer because Disney was a little too far to get to. And to get to the school, even though they bused us, you had to get to the school early, you had to wait for the buses, you had to be bussed out there, then you had to get ready, you had to do the parades, then you had to be bussed back, and then you had to wait for your mom to pick you up, and it was just, it was an all-day thing.
The Winter Garden Library was a lot closer.
The Winter Garden Library was a lot closer. I could ride my bike, and the first librarian, or the librarian that was there, was Mrs. Barbara Marcus, and I worked there for the summer of '76.
And what did you do at the library? I
was a page. I shelved books. And then once school started and I started getting busy and getting more involved in school activities, I left. And then in '77, I went back to Disney because by then I had a car. And I got back to Disney in Main Street Foods.
So you mentioned Disney. So how long did you work for Disney?
17 years.
Wow.
But if you count the 75, 6 months, over the summer in 75, and then actually when I went back in 77, I only worked a year and a half. And then I went back in 80, and I worked 17 years from 80. I remember when they were building Disney, and I was just so excited because I grew up on watching Walt Disney's show on Sunday night, The Wonderful World of Color. And always wanted my parents to take me to Disneyland, California, which was not going to happen. When I found out they were building Disney in my backyard, I was, over the moon. And I was so jealous when I was in 6th grade because a lot of the kids who were in my class, their parents were working on the construction crew. And so I was like getting all these updates, and they had a pre-opening for construction people. And a lot of the kids got to go, and they came back and they were all bragging about, oh, we saw Disney and we did this and we did that. And I couldn't wait to go. And my mother wouldn't let us go opening day because she thought it was going to be way too crowded. So she made us wait, and my birthday, Disney opened in 71, and my birthday in 72 was on a Friday. So we got up thinking we were going to go to school on my birthday, and she says, nope, we're not going to school today, we're going somewhere else. And she took me to Disney on my 11th birthday.
And it was a total surprise.
Total surprise, and I remember we kind of smuggled in cheese sandwiches because we didn't have a lot of money, and there were 4 of us, so, and she, I guess, took my dad to work so she could keep the car to take us out there, and because we only had 1 car. And, but that was like the best time, the best birthday when I was 11 and finally got to go to Disney.
So if you were there for 17 years, I'm sure you probably had a number of jobs there through the years? Or?
At Disney, I started out in the parades, and then I worked in Main Street Foods, and then I actually worked at a toy store because I had started college. I worked at a toy store in Pine Hills for a while because I was going to Valencia. And then Disney announced they were going to start paying minimum wage for $3.10. Back then, $3.10 was like more than you could make anywhere. And I still had my old beat-up car, so I thought, well, for $3.10, that'll buy my gas out there. So then I got on with Tomorrowland Attractions and absolutely loved it. Worked there 4 years, and some things happened which made me not too fond of Tomorrowland Attractions. But I was working in Tomorrowland when Epcot opened, and a lot of people that I worked with got chosen to go over to Epcot. And I was actually on the list for a little while, but somehow I never ended up going, and I'm not quite sure why. But that was exciting to see Epcot, and they took the employees on a little shuttle around the construction site, and they would give us updates on the progress of Epcot Center and everything.